Hello, beautiful soul. Many of us have heard that trauma lingers in the body, but did you know that the body is also a vehicle to release trauma, to become more of who you really are? Well, in today's interview with one of the co-authors of Sacred Medicine, you're going to learn how the body and its wounds can be the doorway to deep, deep healing. I'm talking today with Gregg Westwood, one of the co-authors of Sacred Medicine, exploring the psychedelic hero's journey. And Gregg is unique in his background and his approach. He is a spiritual embodiment coach. He's an author, a healer, and a teacher. He leads sacred ceremonies and somatic integration support groups, as well as for individuals. And in his work of depth integration, he really assists people in integrating their expanded states of consciousness and psychedelic experiences into their lives so that they can really reap the maximum benefit of these deep, life-altering experiences. In our interview, he shares his journey from being a dancer in New York to heading out to the middle of nowhere in California to deepen his knowledge of the body and somatic work. And in his current practice, he really is drawing on 35 years of experience with ancient wisdom and medicine of the indigenous people of North and South America, as well as his extensive training in the creative arts and somatic psychology. So this is a new way to look at your healing journey and to explore depth integration. So enjoy this interview with Gregg Westwood. It's time to upgrade your life. In this podcast and our live events and retreats, we explore ways to hack enlightenment by integrating ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience with transpersonal psychology. From plant medicine and psychedelics to breathwork, mindfulness, and neurofeedback, my guests and I will shine a light on the unique capacity that we have to use our conscious mind to evolve individually and collectively as a species. Tune in each week on your favorite podcast player or the Pennington Media YouTube channel for interviews and discussions about holistic healing of trauma and adverse childhood experiences, burnout recovery, and intentional wellness. Gregorio, welcome. It's such an honor to connect with you again, and thank you for sharing your heart so openly with us on stage and in the book and today. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my honor. It's just been such an amazing experience to write in your book, and the whole experience of New York and the Mega Institute was just life altering. So thank you.
Yes, you are most welcome. Well, your story has always been so inspiring to me to hear your transition through the years and how you've arrived where you are. But to give folks a little bit of context, I think it's fascinating. Do you mind sharing a little bit of your backstory? The arts, the therapy, the somatic work, and now sacred medicine.
Sure, I'd love to. So, well, ever since I was a little boy, I was an actor, and I think it was kindergarten was my first play, and when I got into college, some teachers at this art school called Stevens College were at this play I was in, and they offered me a scholarship to dance, which I was a good dancer, but I had never taken formal training. So I went to Stevens College and got my BFA in dance, and then some of us moved to LA and some of us moved to New York, and I was the New York crew. And spent, many years there doing, modern dance companies and musical theater and such. And but New York was also because it's such a rich city, of course, with all the resources. It was where I found my spiritual path and had, Hindu and Buddhist and all these different kinds of experiences in New York City. And there was this time I was managing this restaurant in Lincoln Center, and I was looking at my hands, and I started massaging people's shoulders, all the waiters and waitresses, and they all stood in line because I was good, I guess. There was this light coming out of my hands, it felt like. And I had a massage therapist that came down from Bennington, Vermont, and worked with me. They were this couple, and I talked to them about that, and they said, well, there's this amazing place where we went, Heartwood, and we'll give you a reference and all that kind of stuff. So it's in Northern California, in the middle of nowhere, going from Manhattan to where there's no like light at night except for it was no Korean delis open, and it was a life-altering experience there where I joined the transformational therapy program and learned how to be a massage therapist, a polarity therapist, a hypnotherapist, and then also the Hendricks method of transpersonal body psychotherapy was what they called their work at the time in the 80s. And it's where I had my first breathwork experience and all that kind of stuff. And then there was this Native American church that was kind of related to the massage school. Many of the people that lived there were part of it, and there were Native Americans that came and held sweat lodges and teepee ceremonies. And I just became very involved in that. And the sweat lodge took breathwork for me to a deeper level of community and ritual and heat and just the expansiveness that I felt afterwards and wanting to feel that more in my daily life and wanting to take that out into the world and help other people. And so after I finished school, a few years later, I went to Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado, and received my master's degree in somatic psychology. And actually, Katie Hendricks was one of the founders of that program, so there were all these kind of connections. And that's where I really experienced a really strong Tibetan Buddhist foundation as well. So my life has really been just this journey of collecting so much wisdom from all these ancient traditions that actually inform modern therapies. Obviously, that's almost where they get their meat from, in my opinion. And so yeah, it's been a journey, and then I did this whole corporate thing for a while here in Denver, and then my heart started really hurting, and I actually did a Kambo session, and it took me into this depth integration and going back on my heart path. And so now as people will read in the book, I've gone to Ecuador several times over the last year, and I've had some amazing experience with South American indigenous wisdom that has really, again, taken me to a much deeper level in my path and also in service to other people.
It is amazing. And it's amazing because of the courage. Like, you talk a lot now today about courage, but to just up and leave Manhattan, leaving sort of the limelight of the dance world, to go off to the middle of nowhere to study, the somatic side of things, and from massage and on and on. I mean, do you feel like there was like this divine hand guiding you, bringing you the right people, the right opportunities?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just from mentioning that the massage therapist, told me about Heartwood, and then Heartwood, the Hendricks, and, then Naropa, yeah. And even, the whole Kambo experience, which is a different story we can get into some other time. But that led me to creating my work, and then I created these online summits of healing trauma through conscious embodiment, which you graciously were one of the speakers at. And then I met my dear friend Monique Long, who took me to Ecuador, and then I had this first experience, and then I went again and my second experience, and then I'll save it for later, but my third experience really kind of culminates what started in that first experience.
Well, you've written about your Kambo experience in another book, but I think it'll be helpful for people who aren't aware that Kambo spelled with a Kambo, not combo as in combination, but it's frog medicine. A lot of people call it that. And it's taking these secretions and putting them onto the skin via a burn. So, do you want to give us at least a little bit of what inspired you to sit with Kambo?
Poisonous.
Yeah, these are poisonous secretions, right? But what inspired you? Like, did you feel called to it? Was it someone at Naropa? Like, how did all of that flow? And because Kambo is not like a psychedelic with seeing visions, but it's a purgative, and it's definitely spiritual. What did you get out of that journey?
Well, I'll try to be brief about this because it's a really long story, but my father was dying of Alzheimer's, and maybe this will speak to some people because we all have non-ordinary experiences that modern science can't explain sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was having these experiences, and the best way I can describe it is we've all seen the movies Men in Black and how the aliens were inside and moving these people, and they could, I had these experiences where something was moving my body, and it was terrifying. And it wouldn't last forever. It was, maybe lasted an hour each time. But I didn't know what to do. And the last time it happened, I had this wonderful naturopath and chiropractic friend who had this machine called the Avatar, and it measures your body systems and inflammation levels and all this other kind of stuff. And it has this graph in it. And so let me backtrack. I was having one of these episodes. I stupidly drove home, but I made it home. Her office is a block away, and I was like banging against the buildings as I was walking, just trying to get there. She put me on the table, put some needles in me. It calmed me down. And then we went to this machine, and, normally the graph would kind of go like that. And when I held it, it started going, and she goes, "You have a parasite." Oh. But I don't think it's internal. I think it's energetic. And so I told my massage therapist about that. She says, "Well, I know this, this shaman who, a medical intuitive who might be able to help you." And so I went to him, and he said, "I think the best way to heal this would be through Kambo." And so there was a beautiful practitioner here in Denver that I met with, and we did 2 series. I don't know where I get this courage to do people, I tell people that it's just my life. I just do it. And other people go, "You're so courageous." And I was like, well, it's just what I'm supposed to do. And so I go, and yes, as you said, it's very purgative. And, I looked in the mirror, and it was really a bad experience looking at myself as I was dying. And she felt this huge dark energy over me, and after the last session, it was pretty much gone. And it really, I think, was an ancestral energy from my lineage, because it really was about shutting me down. And it was my father was an amazing man, an amazing artist who did this Buddha, and he was an amazing man, but he would flip sometimes when I got too big, so to speak, and he was like, "Who do you think you are, big time?" And it would just shut me down. And ever since I did that, I don't have that voice anymore. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty profound.
Wow.
And I hope that it helped the rest of my family as well.
Got it. So that was kind of an amazing experience. And then things just continued from there. And I'm really interested to hear some of what your experiences were when you went down to Ecuador. Of course, you're sharing a lot of this in the book, Sacred Medicine. But I think hearing it from you, I'm always fascinated because when you sit with healers, energy workers, people who have a true gift, and they can just look at you and say, I see what you have, whether it's a block or it's a parasite or it's a gift. And you have these experiences where people are mirroring to you, like, use your voice. You're here to do this. You're here to do that. It's pretty amazing. And fortunately, you're listening, right? Because your career continues to evolve.
Yeah, I would say, I shared the transcript of my talk with my dear hermana Tati, who is my main teacher in Ecuador. And she said, Gregorio, sometimes that was so great that you did that, because sometimes people don't get to that place of healing. And like I said earlier, I'd done sweat lodges in Northern California. Many times I actually was the fire bearer for many sweat lodges. It was really a powerful experience for me. But I learned, I remembered one song, and it's the Song of the Eagle, which is my power animal. So I had that in my mind and my heart. And the two major medicine ceremonies that we did in Ecuador were a mezcal or sweat lodge with San Pedro, and then an ayahuasca ceremony. And both of my first two visits. And so we're in this, in the dark of the sweat lodge, and they had these beautiful singers that were in the front, and they were really professional singers. And all of a sudden, Tati said, Gregorio, sing. And it was pitch black, and, I'd taken San Pedro medicine. So I wasn't quite sure what to do, and I froze. I was handed this rattle, and I was like, ah. And then I was like, okay, so took a deep breath, and it really felt like the San Pedro held me while I was searching and freezing. And so I just took a deep breath and started singing that song. And then the people in the sweat lodge, there were choruses to the song. They came in and sang while I was singing, and it was just, I was like, wow, I'm leading a sacred song and a sacred ceremony, and I've never done this before, and it was really beautiful. It was very touching, and I left it at that. And do you want me to go on to the second, or?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I was like, I felt like I wanted to go. My intention for going was that I felt like there was something missing in my healing practice. Like I had, maybe there was a skill I needed to learn or something like that. And so it was really beautiful to have that experience. But what I realized in the ayahuasca experience was something much deeper, is that, so a similar thing happened. Of course, ayahuasca is much different than San Pedro. It's much more internal and purgative, and it's a beautiful ceremony. And so I'm took the medicine. I'm starting to see all these beautiful images and things like that. And all of a sudden, I was starting to feel really sick. And then so they gave us these buckets in front of us to let go of. And I'm looking in the bucket, and there's all these spirits going, come. And I just let go. And it was so deep that it was coming from my sacrum. It hurt really bad. And nothing was coming out. And all of a sudden, this chunk came out, and I just collapsed. And then this song, they call them Icaros, this lullaby was being sung, and it was just, I can't explain how much comfort and love and compassion I felt from that song, and how it just filled my whole body. And so I'm in this very beautiful, expanded state, connected to this really large energy of love, compassion, and really forgiveness. I think the forgiveness was the biggest piece. I just forgave everything. And all of a sudden, again, it's like, Gregorio, sing. And I was like, what? I mean, I don't have a song for this ceremony. And she said, just sing. And so I just took a deep breath, and I just, these tones started flowing out of me that were really pretty. I can be kind of critical, and it was really, they were beautiful tones. And she said, Gregorio, that really grounded this ceremony. She said that afterwards. And I realized that they were, I believe, seeing that I was a leader of some sort, because they weren't asking anybody else to do that. And I'm not saying I was better than anybody else, but I think they saw something that they wanted to support me in. And it wasn't till, but there's so many things I want to say today. And integration is also such a very important piece of this experience. But what I want to say to that, and it's part of my title of my work, is that meeting you, having the opportunity to write about this, is when I really understood what happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understood that there was something I was purging, and I understood that it was from my childhood. I understood all that, but it wasn't until I wrote this chapter that I realized that it was this freezing thing that came from my kindergarten, where I was called out and embarrassed and shamed by my teacher. And it really, so that's the beauty about the whole journey of plant medicine, is that, there's the preparation, there's this actual ceremony, but then integrating it, bringing that spiritual experience back to this earth to embody and expand your own message or gifts in this world. And in fact, one of the shamans said, Gregorio, that's the duty. It's to bring back that so that we all heal. Yes. And so that, I can't thank you enough for reaching out and starting me on this journey of writing, which I never realized how powerful it is in our healing experience and in our integration.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. The journey of becoming an author and sharing your story is part of the embodiment, because then you are living the transformation. It's not just in your head and not just in your heart. You're like having to breathe it, live it, express it.
You are saying that so well. That's the truth. And the more we can in somatic work, the more we can tolerate expansion and that bigness in our bodies, then the more we're able to be light. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I think your work is so important in this space right now. Like, so many people are now having access to psychedelics, whether that's ketamine in their hometown or flying to the jungle to experience ayahuasca or San Pedro or ibogaine even. And then they get back home and they're faced with the task of, how do I take these insights and allow it to change my life, to change who I'm being? Because we can have like miraculous awakenings, but then you've got to embody it. And I think it's what I've told you so often about your work with teaching people how to bring it forward and live it and all of that. So I'd love I'd love for you to share a bit of when you're working with people, just like when you worked with yourself in embodying all of these lessons from sweat lodges and breath work to Kambo to San Pedro to ayahuasca and then even mushrooms. How do you see that shift with your clients and with yourself to really it's about bringing forth all of your gifts as a somatic therapist with, the depth psychology piece along with the sacred medicine piece. But I'd love to hear it in your words.
Say more about that. Are you asking about the process or how people?
Yeah, because your practice of depth integration has gone from being this somatics, a body-based therapy, helping people with psychological issues and whatnot, to now really crossing over into this sacred medicine space, still using those skills, but in a new way for people to heal, to really find their courage and live differently.
Well, and I think your gesture just said it all. It's moving from here to here.
Yeah.
I just held a cacao ceremony for one of my dear friends, and she's, been working on a lot of grief, and was doing it all up here, and doing some wonderful practices like EMDR and all those kind of things that are really helpful. But if we stay in that cognitive realm, we miss where the true healing is, and that's in our bodies. Our bodies are these amazing vessels that source comes through, and they're always trying to lead us to health.
Yeah.
All the systems of our bodies are trying to lead us to health. So when we can access the body and go in, the way in, I think, it's so counterintuitive in our culture to go into the pain. We want to take a pill, or we want to, go away from it. But that is the beautiful journey of, plant medicine. It's such I'm just learning this. The more I do experience is that it brings you into your body, and it amplifies, just like breath work. Breath work is another wonderful tool of bringing it into your body and amplifying what's there, to then give you the impetus and the momentum to release and express. And then on the other side of that, you connect with this beautiful, incredible flow of life that's always there for you. I think that's what, when I was speaking about the Ecuador, Spirit loves us so much. But we just have these blocks. We have these, these beliefs, these, unexpressed emotions that block our connection to that. And so the body is just this wonderful tool we have to access, and the mindfulness to be develop that awareness of what's going on, developing that courage and safety. I think safety is so important as well. To go into that, not knowing where it's going to go, could get messy, but I've never fully expressed something without experiencing an incredible expansion and altered state of consciousness, which then changes your mind. It changes your idea of the possibilities in life. You become limitless. And so then we take those new awareness and consciousness ideas and make different choices and actions in our life.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you're talking about is, being able to be back in the body, to be tuned into the present moment, to look for expansion requires a level of surrender. And I know that surrender is a big part of your journey and what you help your clients with. Can you talk about that? Because, of course, in the psychedelic world, we tell people, this medicine can really help you, but you have to surrender. And so it sounds like with you, there's multiple points in this process of being willing to and able to surrender?
The one thing that I learned on my second trip that I'm really incorporating into my work right now is the energies of the divine masculine and feminine, and how indigenous people work with that. And that divine masculine energy, if we can tap into that, really creates the safety and the strength and courage to go into the divine feminine and surrender and trust. And it's a really beautiful, theory of energies that then bring you into balance. Of course, when you have them both working together, you're in that present moment, as you spoke about, that internal present moment, where I'll just have to say this, where surrender is really the only option.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works exactly yet, but when you are in that internal present moment, that's what to do. That's what you do.
Yeah. I definitely have found that. I mean, speaking of courage, a lot of people ask me as well, like, how did you leave traditional medicine to do what you do, or leave the United States to come live in France? You must be so courageous. But for me, it was a matter of necessity. It was like surrender and travel a new path was the only way I was going to be able to live. And I think now, knowing that, I can teach other people, like, okay, the earlier you surrender and give up like the ego's thoughts on how it should look or how it should be, it gives you more ability to enter into this relationship with spirit and healing. And it's like you say, like, don't shy away from the pain, because when you move towards the wound, that's where you can get into this relationship with spirit and healing, right?
Right. Definitely. And I think it's, you take one step at a time in the present moment. You're called to go to France, so you take that step, and then in that present moment is the answer to what your next step is.
Yeah.
We can quiet that mind, or actually, as some people say, it's not even so much quieting the mind, it's just accessing that peace that's within.
It's all already inside of us. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, what does the future look like for you? You're inviting people to work with you. You will soon be inviting people to sit in ceremony in various capacities. What can we look forward to?
Yeah, well, I am returning to Ecuador soon to continue my learning and deepening of this incredible wisdom that touches me so deeply. And yeah, like you, I'm taking a step forward in the next few weeks and moving to another place where I look forward to creating immersions for people in, I think, integrating the ceremonial and the somatic work of breath and movement and also the elements. I think the elements are very powerful. All this, indigenous wisdom of this earth that these spirits that have been around, much like I said earlier, much longer than we have these really amazing attributes that can hold us as we follow our heart. Because it's not a linear process. It's a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to just continuing to deepen myself and creating, incredibly deep spaces. I think what I try to do is become what the medicine does for me, and that's holding this, incredibly safe and open space for others to find their true self.
Beautifully said. Yes, you are a space holder and a facilitator of creating the right environment for people to sink in, to break open, to break through. Really beautiful. Well, I look forward to seeing what comes next. I invite everyone to check out the book, Sacred Medicine, and read Gregg's story. And Gregg, or shall I say Gregorio, where can people find out more about you and your work?
Well, I have a website, depthintegration.com, which I'm revising right now, but I think it should be ready in a few weeks. And I'm on YouTube at Depth Integration. I'm on Instagram at Depth Integration. Also have Facebook as well. But I think that if you go to the website, you can sign up for my newsletter and mailing list and keep up to date with what I'm up to these days.
Awesome. Well, we will put the link in the show notes, and I invite everyone to check him out. So thank you so much, Gregg. It is a pleasure and an honor. And yeah, you didn't mention the upcoming book, but that's all right. We'll have you back when your next book is released. No pressure.
Yeah. Yes, you are dearly helping me with my book. So, and it changes all the time. So, but I think it's going to be, I'm really excited about it. So Good. That should be coming out this next year. So.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Conscious Evolution podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave us a review and rating on your favorite podcast player. This helps us get the content out to a larger audience. And to watch the video version of the podcast, visit the Pennington Media YouTube channel. Want more info on how psychedelics may improve your mental well-being, how to choose a retreat, or what to look for in a shaman? Get on the Psychedelic Curious email journal. The link is in the show notes and on my website. You can also sign up for my free masterclass series, where each month I take a deep dive into a topic in holistic healing, trauma recovery, self-love, resilience, and psychedelic-assisted therapy.